What's good, guys? It's TSG, and in today's video I'm just sharing the Twitter space that was recorded earlier this morning between Tom Bilyeu from Impact Theory and KIERAN WARWICK. I really hope you guys enjoy it, and if you do, please hit the like, subscribe, hit the notification button. It helps a lot. And anyway, let's get stuck into it.
All right. Theoretically, I am here. Shay, if you can just confirm that you can hear me okay, that would be amazing.
Loud and clear.
There we go. Nice. All right. Well, I've got KIERAN here with me on my side. I don't know if you've added him yet as a speaker, but I believe that I saw him in there, if I'm not mistaken. But welcome, everybody, to Building in Web3. Today, we are going to be talking to somebody that is doing some amazing things in the space. I am blown away with what they are building over at Illuvium, but I will save the official welcome until I know that he's in here as a speaker. I think he's here. KIERAN, what's up, man? So close.
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
There we go. What's up, dude?
Not too much. Early morning over here, so doing well. How about you?
It is. Yeah, man, I'm doing very well. I have had a very good time researching you. Obviously, I knew about Illuvium before, but had never really gone deep into what you guys are doing, and I am extraordinarily impressed. This is very exciting. If you don't mind, just giving people, just in case we've got some Web3 newbies joining us today that don't already know about Illuvium, if you don't mind just giving a quick thumbnail sketch of the project, that would be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. So what we're building is basically, it's been touted as the first AAA game that's being built on the blockchain. We're building on top of the Ethereum network. We're essentially an open world collectible game, very similar to Pokemon. And then instead of having a battle system that is more turn-based and sort of like a card game, we use an auto battler. And so there's a bunch more complexity, strategies, and different things that you can do to upskill yourself in the battling component of the game. And then we have a bunch of other elements that we've integrated from things like land and PFPs, which you can use across all of the games in the universe. And on top of that, we've also built a mini game for that land. So if you're into like idle clickers and that's more your angle, then we've also got something for you as well.
It's incredible. How long have you guys been developing?
We're at about the 18-month mark now, or since inception. Whoa. So I guess development didn't really start ramping up until like December. So about 15 months.
Wow. That's, given the images that I've seen, that's really incredible how much you guys have been able to put together in that amount of time. And by the way, anybody that's in the Twitter feed, if you want to join the conversation over at Impact Theory's Discord, be sure to head over there in general chat. We've got people listening and talking about what's going on. That's the one downside to Twitter is, ironically, you can't see what people are saying. But thank you guys all for joining us. So I know how big your dev team is now. How big was it when you started? Do you have a background in game design?
No. So Illuvium was co-founded by three brothers, myself, Aaron, and Grant. And it was kind of this really unique tripod of skill sets that we put together. Aaron has a game design background. He has designed many games and just had never gone the next step and published one of those games or sat down and you know, he's developed games before and obviously he's got a coding background, but again he'd never just taken that next step to really ship a game. But I knew that he had the skill set there, so that's where the game design comes from. Grant's background is in CGI. he just happened to be one of the best in the world at modeling. And we previously had a tutorial business where he was training people on CGI. And so it was very natural to go to him. And then from the business side of it and the crypto side of it, I've been involved in the space for 4 or 5 years. And so the synergies just made sense. And yeah, we really came together and started developing it.
That's pretty crazy that you've got 3 brothers with such perfectly timed skills for what you guys are doing here. You guys have a really strong DeFi component to what you're doing. How did that come into the mix? Was that your focus in terms of what you were doing in crypto?
Yeah, so I initially we've actually got another brother who started Synthetics Protocol, which you probably heard of. That's
Absolutely.
SNX. And so that's obviously a DeFi protocol. And so naturally, when I jumped back in the space in early 2020, I took a likening to decentralized finance. I really understood why it was needed and the benefits to the customer. And so that was what grabbed me. But I've always had a love for gaming. I've always been a gamer. And when I stumbled across Axie Infinity, they didn't necessarily have any DeFi elements at that stage, at least. And I thought, what if you could build like a project that had integrated DeFi elements, but was still a AAA game? You know, if you combine the two, that would almost be an unstoppable force. And so that's sort of why we went down this route.
And given the strong DeFi component, how did you approach making sure that the game itself was fun? Because that's one criticism that you'll hear of Axie is amazing, innovative. Thank God they did it. They brought so much attention to the space. But from what I hear, it's maybe not the most intrinsically playable game. And in fairness, I have not played it, so I can't say, but that's definitely the word on the street.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look back, you kind of got to give them a little bit of slack, because back 4 years ago, it was only sort of 20 teams that were building were building games on the blockchain. I'd say 20 teams in total across all the different chains and whatever. And so it wasn't really gaming studios that were building these games. It was passionate gamers that had a Solidity background. And so when they were building these things, the focus wasn't necessarily on building a fun game. It was, let's test this NFT technology so we can actually give ownership to the players. And that was the genius moment that they created. And so when we looked at it, it was like, okay, this ability for players to own their own assets is such an amazing thing. If we can just surround that, but if we can just focus on the gaming side of it and still focus on the DeFi elements of it, then we're going to be able to deliver both. But it was always a 50-50 focus, right? There was never, we in fact, it was probably like 70% gaming hires that in the beginning, and 30% coders and engineers and stuff like that.
And is that still the ratio now? I know at last check anyway, I heard you guys are close to 200 people on the team, which in and of itself is extraordinary. I know how difficult it is to hire that many people. Has that ratio held?
No, not at all. I think we've got, the coders are going to kill me. I think we've got about 20 coders, and we've got around 150 between the different artists that we have in the business. Then obviously there's a whole bunch of admin and marketing roles and stuff sprinkled in like that. But yeah, it's one thing that I definitely am focused on at the moment. We're always looking for Solidity devs to come on board, but yes, that ratio is always going to stay at probably 80%, just purely with how much we need to create on the art side.
I think that, so I don't know how much you know about what we're doing, but we have a project called Project Kaizen, which is what I'll call a game-like experience. It will become more of a game down the road, but in the beginning, we wanted to create something slightly different. If you've read Ready Player One, where the book elements is more our focus, where it's experiential more than it is combat style. But when I see just the needs on the art side, it's staggering. You would think that coding is going to be, where all your hires come. And then you realize, oh my God, to put together the art assets is really insane. How do you guys approach that? Is it creating the marketing assets, the in-game assets? Where are you putting your primary focus?
So there's an entire pipeline that we've created, and sorry, I should make the distinction that we've got probably 50 coders on the gaming side of it, back end, front end, that kind of stuff. But in terms of blockchain, we've got 5 or 6 people. So that's that ratio that I was talking about. Sorry, could you repeat that last question?
Yeah, in terms of where you have your art team allocated.
Right, sorry.
Is it more on the marketing side or gaming side?
We kind of grab it. Marketing's lucky in a way because we're able to grab the assets from the game. Basically, no one wants to see a promotional image that has been processed over and over and over again, and you're thinking, okay, well that looks great, and it's it's like cinematics. It looks amazing, but it's not in game. So we're really lucky in that 99% of the assets that we're leaking out are literally in-game assets. And it's because of this pipeline that we've created right from concepting. We've got, I think, 9 concept artists in the team now. And if you think about that, we're a 3D game. So they're 2D concepts that they're drawing, and then they're turning that into 3D from that. But where it comes from is these concept artists who have the imagination. They're the ones thinking of what does the world look like, what do the characters look like, and so it all stems from there, and then goes through the pipeline of modeling, animating, visual effects, and the rest of it, sound. It's never ending.
Yeah, the game looks amazing, man. What you guys are leaking out is really extraordinary. By the way, I know that you and your brother had $1 million bet. I'm curious. I saw a video where you guys got to a tie and then you stopped. Did you break the tie yet?
No, we haven't. We haven't broken the tie, but I'm actually getting quite scared. He's staying with me at the moment, and I think he did that to try and say, like, hey, this battle's real, and you have no idea what you're doing. He's worked out that we're still fixing a bunch of balancing issues, and that's going to be an ongoing thing right the way through this private beta. And so he's figured out a strategy that's based on a broken character, and
that's amazing.
Yeah, so that is still happening, but I'm kind of like, I've played auto battlers for the last 7-8 years of my life, so everything that I know in an auto battler is wrong right now, so it's a little bit interesting.
That's hilarious. That is certainly a attention-grabbing bet. I love that it's between 2 brothers. That ratchets up the rivalry. I like the psychological warfare of your brother moving in. That's amazing. Do you guys have a date yet for when you're going to do the tiebreak?
We were hoping to do it prior to. We were trying to do it on Illuvium Insider, but we can't this week. So either Thursday or Friday if he's up to it. Otherwise, it'll most likely be this Sunday.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see who ends up being the victor. That's pretty crazy in terms of the scale of the bet, but I like your confidence. Out of curiosity, as you guys were building out the tokenomics on this, what was the like North Star? What were you trying to work into the system?
Well, the biggest thing that we do differently that I see to most other GameFi projects and even DeFi protocols to a certain extent is we have built a tokenomic system where we're distributing back all of the revenue that's actually generated in game back to the people that are staked in the protocol. And so we've basically built a system where there isn't really a reason why you wouldn't be staked in some way into our protocol, whether that's you staking a single-sided asset, as in ILV, or you go into the liquidity pool and you put it in the ETH/ILV pool. We've made it so you're going to, if you do stake, you're going to get your portion of revenue. So obviously, the impermanent loss is something that some people want to avoid. You can do that and still gain the revenue from the game by simply going into our single-sided staking pool. And so that the whole idea was, let's tap into the network effects of giving it all back to the community and the stakeholders, the people who are literally invested in this project, and then let's see what happens. Let's see if, because of that, people are more inclined to invest more money and more time into the protocol. And obviously revenue distributions haven't started yet, but we feel like it's talked about constantly in our Discord is when revenue distributions start. So I think that's going to be the aha moment for a lot of people with our tokenomics.
So you've got several different revenue streams that are going into this. And when do you plan to, what's the, not the date, but the mechanism when you guys are going to unlock that? Just once the game gets up and running and you're actively taking in revenues, or is there some other time-gated trigger?
No, because that was the plan originally. We've since added a bunch of things to the roadmap and scope since the inception, and so we're looking to, as soon as the revenue hits the vault, and it's probably going to be from the land sale, which is up and coming. So any revenues outside, so land sale, Illuvium, which is that PFP project I was talking about, all of the in-game revenues, everything, as soon as it hits the vault, that's when our smart contract will trigger and it will actually purchase ILV back off the market, and then that's what gets distributed back. So on top of you getting the distributions of the game or any sort of sale event that we have, you're also getting the revenue from you're also getting the increase from the ILV price going up, because you've got potentially, this 10 million, 20 million, whatever it is, week of revenues that is now being swapped as in ETH to ILV. And so, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Now, if you're buying back the ILV, is there not a point at which ILV reaches zero?
Theoretically, yes. So, there's a bunch of, to be honest, if it goes to zero, it's basically impossible to go to zero, where you're talking about a trillion, like trillions and trillions of dollars the protocol would be worth if that was the case.
Got it.
so it's not going to go to that, but you're right in saying that the supply can potentially diminish down to a fairly low point.
And so I've heard you talk about this before, so I sort of know the punchline. But looking at Axie, obviously with their SLP, they've gotten into a tricky situation where that's an inflating number, and so of course the value is going to go down. What are you guys doing to combat that? And then obviously the flip side is if you're trying to basically do a deflationary scenario, don't you run into a point where people won't be able to buy in to the game?
Yeah, so we've got how we combat that is all of our characters are set on a bonding curve, and so not only do they get harder and harder to catch as they're being caught by other people, there is a point in time where set one, for example, will go out of existence, right? And so that Genesis set that we're calling it, if those alluvials are out there to be caught for 6 months, when set 2 is released, you will never be able to capture those alluvials again unless you're buying them from someone else on the marketplace. Now that over time, you saw with Pokemon, for example, we're basically trying to recreate that model of there's only a finite amount, it's a limited time only, get in now. So it really, really promotes that scarcity. On top of that, we also have, in Axie, they've got breeding, right? So it really incentivizes people to increase the amount of Axies that are in supply. We incentivize people with decreasing the supply of alluvials. And how we do that is a fusing mechanic. So if you have 3 alluvials out there that are stage 1, you can fuse them together with a small fee. That fee, again, goes to the vault, and you're going to get a more powerful stage 2 alluvial, but you've just gone and burnt 3 NFTs. Now, if those NFTs are in a set that is discontinued, you can see that over time, a character might get very, very rare, and so that's how we combat the inflation across the board in the system. And it's never a stage of it's not a barrier to entry to enter. It just means that, hey, you missed out on getting the Genesis set or set 2, set 3 because you came into the game, in year 3, but it doesn't make it, because we're a completely balanced game and every single character is balanced. You're not going to be sitting there going, oh, that Genesis set 1 character is wasting me in the ranked arenas. I need to go and get that, because we normalize all of the stats in the ranked arenas anyway. So my point there is literally all it's doing is making that character more rare, right? So technically more valuable.
Understood. So everybody listening, by the way, if you're a key holder and you want to ask questions, head over to Discord. We are going to be taking your guys' questions in the not too distant future. So head over there. If you're not a key holder, you can become one by going to OpenSea. So I am really excited by what Web3 has to offer. I obviously have gone all in myself professionally. I'm curious, as somebody who's passionate about gaming, what is it that you see that's going to be this perfect marriage of Web3 and gaming? And why do you think there's such a clash between traditional gaming and Web3, which I was shocked by? I did not expect it. And so to see some of that vitriol, I was like, what? It still seems so strange to me.
Yeah, and look, crypto is still seen as this taboo money laundering scheme that it's something that's difficult to understand is always going to be scary at first. And so I don't understand it either. I think the reason is because we've literally immersed ourselves. I've seen your videos, you've literally gone all in. I did the exact same thing. And so I think over time we will educate people, but something that has been a problem in gaming for so long has been the custody of assets. Who actually owns them? Is it Blizzard or is it the end customer? If they've gone out and spent 5 years earning as much gold as they can in World of Warcraft, should they be able to sell it? Now, take one trip to Reddit and you'll see thousands and thousands of comments about this is BS, I want to be able to do this, blah, blah, blah. So when this technology started emerging, I was a gamer and I went, oh my God, like this, yes, like this is it. And I guess I'm a little bit more bullish on these sort of things. So I sort of dismiss anything else because I'm like, the end is so good. It's so important that, we can work out the effects on the environment and things like that. And so that doesn't worry me. But I think because it's so new and it's bleeding edge, it's scary to a lot of people, and they're choosing the easy route to say, that's to do with criminal activity and all that kind of stuff. We're pure gamers and we don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, the criminal element is you don't know much about the blockchain, if that's your claim, since the blockchain would be the world's worst place to commit a crime, given that you can track everything. Speaking of that, like I've heard you talk about the regulatory environment. What do you guys think about that in terms of, are you guys leaning towards calling this out as a financial instrument? Are you playing the game a different way? I know you guys are in touch with legislators there in Australia. How are you thinking about that?
It's a tough one. We're trying to navigate through it. And it's obviously every single month there's new developments, but at the same time, very, very, very little change is happening in Australia. They are working on it, but we're being told that we're still 2-3 years away from from our government even being able to define, is a DAO a legal entity? Is it a not-for-profit? What actually are these organizations? And it's very tough for even them to give us advice at this point, because the advice that they give out might not be correct based on the new rulings that come out. And so right now we are definitely in a gray zone here. And that is, again, another sign that we're super early, and I expect change to come in, but until that happens, we can't say that we're a financial instrument. We can't say any of these things. We've just kind of got to keep on building and let them define us when they do.
Shay, did you, you've come off mute. Did you have something to jump in with?
I apologize. I went hot mic on you. I do have questions when you guys are ready.
All right, cool. Well, if you've got one lined up, why don't we let them jump in?
So they want me to read them from the community right now. One of the questions from one of our key holders was, how would you compare your project with DeFi Kingdom's tokenomics?
I actually, DeFi, it's interesting that you say that, but DeFi Kingdoms, I'm planning on going really, really deep this weekend. I actually don't know much about it at all. I looked at one of their demos online and it looks pretty cool. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I can't really comment on that.
While you grab that next question, Shay, one thing, Kieran, that I have really respected in your interviews, you don't bullshit when you don't know, you say you don't know. The ownership that you took when you guys discovered the exploit, I thought was really extraordinary. I'll assume that's just your personality, but I'm curious why take that approach? It's awesome, but it is not standard.
Yeah, it's just the way that I am. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I guess it's just my personality. Yeah, I mean, you can tell. Like, I guess I'm the type of person. If I don't believe in something, you can sort of be like, "Well, that wasn't really like him," you know. And I don't want that. You know, I want to be transparent. So for me, and we're not doing anything. Like, I think we're doing really positive things. So it's not like I need to try and avoid stuff and whatever. If I don't know something, you know, I can always come back to it and whatever. So, yeah.
That makes sense. Shay?
So our next question, there's actually the next two, is tied in together a little bit. Are you building it all in Unreal Engine? And if so, what do you think of an ITFK crossover one day?
Gotta love the community. He's like, what the hell is ITFK?
No, that's your project, right?
Yeah.
So, look, in terms of, we are building in Unreal Engine, Unreal 4. We're starting to look at Unreal Engine 5, but it's probably, you know, still a ways away for us to be able to release on. So Unreal Engine 4. And in terms of collaborations, in the crypto space, we are really, really open to working with any communities that are out there. We feel like collaboration between crypto projects is really needed and required in order for us to keep on pushing this space forward. So yeah, definitely open to that.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things about crypto and being so early to this is, man, there's a need, one, to find like-minded people to connect, and then to be able to do things together to push I don't want to call it an agenda, but to push it forward. You know, there's the famous saying, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then they accept you as self-evident. We are very much in the then they fight you period.
Yeah.
But what is interesting is, so going to NFT LA this last week and then going to Miami NFT week, I was blown away by, and this is part because on YouTube, I'm seeking out disconfirming evidence. I don't want to just be in the echo chamber. But my YouTube algorithm shows me every video game commentator that hates NFTs. And so I just hear this, outpouring of it's terrible. It's, destroying the environment. It's a scam. It's, all this crazy shit that just seems so absurd to me. And then you go to these events and people are so excited and they're so optimistic and they're so hell bent. Like, so my thing is, I don't know if you're paying attention to Ray Dalio at all, but he built the largest hedge fund in the world and is just successful in a way that is dizzying. And he has gone back to, I think, 500 BCE. This is not a joke, and has mapped every empire and how they grow and decline over time. And there's 6 stages, and the 6 stages just total decomposition. And happened with the Roman Empire decomposing, and that leads to the Dark Ages. I mean, these are consequential moments. And he puts us, as the American Empire, he puts us in sort of mid to late stage 5, which is not great. And yeah, and he's saying that he pegs it at about a 30% chance of civil war, and that a key part of the whole equation is we have to find a way back to a thriving middle class. And so I think, like you, I saw Web3 and was like, oh my God, like this is the invention that people have been waiting for. And in my own journey, so I learned business, got wealthy through business. I don't know investing. And when I found out that I was an accredited investor simply because I was worth over $1 million, I was like, but I still don't know anything about investing. Why can't a kid who doesn't have my net worth but knows investing, why can't they take a test or something and invest? Like, I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. And I was like, why are people not rioting in the streets over this? And so when I hear, okay, here's Web3, and I'm thinking we need a thriving middle class, you get ownership in things that you care about, you can do it on a micro scale, you don't have to bet like everything that you have. I was like, this is how you bring back a thriving middle class. And so to see the vitriol and the collision is like, it's, to me, it is like a patient who is bleeding to death on the operating table, refusing assistance. And you're like, what is happening right now? Like, do you get that, a vibe like that?
I do. I'd like 100%. And even look, when it came to DeFi, and I was trying to explain to people this new way of essentially banking, that was a very, very tough conversation, because you're talking about someone's money, right? Like that's a very personal thing. You know, you literally need that to survive. So you're talking about something that is super complex that they don't understand, and it's kind of like, well, not with my money. I might do that with something else. And so that was the bucket that I was in. So then when I saw gaming, I was like, well, you all get, like, everyone understands gaming. We all understand that if I went into Pokemon Go, and because I risked my life hanging off a bridge trying to capture this Doug Trio, and I got it, and I'm the only person in the world who got that Doug Trio because I was willing to risk my life or whatever it was, I can now own that. And there's going to be some crazy person out there in the world that's like, well, I'm never going to do that, but I see the value in what he just did, so I'm going to buy that, right? I'm going to buy that off him. I thought that concept would be amazing to hear from gamers, and it's not everyone. There are tons and tons of people that have seen the light and understand that verifiable ownership of assets in game is literally a game changer. But again, there's also this narrative that's being pushed of these, crazy interoperable worlds, literally talking Ready Player One, and you see these YouTube interviews where people are saying that they're building these worlds in literally 12 months' time. You're going to be able to have 55 different assets from different projects coming in, and it's actually going to be fun and intuitive and balanced. And game developers are like, no, I know that can't work, right? And so there's I think we need to relax a little bit on hyping up like crazy benefits of crypto, and we need to go back to it the most simplest form and just focus on getting people over the line on one thing at a time. I think that's the best way to educate people, because if you hit them with this is going to be the greatest thing in the world, and it's it's going to solve world hunger and all this kind of stuff, you immediately put it in this light where people want to start attacking that idea. So I don't know. I think it's going to be a long process over time, but I'm confident we'll get there.
Yeah, my thing is whatever is true will win. And so if I'm wrong, and this isn't a useful way for people to take their individual talents and have a mechanism now where they can be rewarded for it, even if it's just for being a maven. So I'll use video games as an example. So let's say right now you don't make video games, you are a commentator, you're a tastemaker. And so your option right now is to create a YouTube, and you become a personality, and you go out, you're a personality, and you make revenue dollars, and you play, and you love your life, and it's amazing. And if you Mr. Beast it, then you can be living an extraordinary life.
Yep.
But this is now another angle. So just like YouTube allowed creators to become their own media company, Now you're going to see that there's going to be dozens of outlets for that. Obviously, we've already seen artists now find a way, but sticking with video games for a second. So now you're a YouTuber who is known for playing games or being good at games or whatever. If you own a skin and you play in a championship battle in that skin and you own that skin, you just increase the value of that skin. Or if you're a commentator that can help make an otherwise a game that's so early that nobody knows about it, you go and do essentially what you've done with your own company, which is in a fair launch, you go buy a bunch of this shit because you believe in it, but you're a tastemaker. And so now you show people, you playing the game, you explain why it's fun, you like help get it out there. And of course, you full disclosure, I own this much of it, whatever. You're not trying to pull a fast one. But it's like you believe in it, you put your money where your mouth is. And now, even if your money is $150, and for you that was a lot, but you can get a 3x or a 5x return because you helped elevate that game by showing the gameplay and all that. I'm just like, man, this is another way for people to make money. Now, if I'm right about that, that's going to take care of itself and the world is going to flock because it is true. And there are fun, cool ways. Music is another one. When I think about if you're a tastemaker in music, and before you had to be a DJ basically to get attention for music or a reviewer, but now you could go get the NFTs of a band that you know and love, help popularize that band, and now you're going to be able to enjoy that ride. And when you spread that out across, I mean, God only knows how many ways. Like we're in the dial-up phase of Web3.
100%.
You can't imagine Uber, right? Like no, that's going to be a whole other thing. So it's just like, man. So if it's true, it's going to end up winning. And if I'm wrong, then it won't, and it'll dissipate, and it will be nothing. But I'm always taken aback by what you're saying, and you're so right. And you and I are different in this way. I'm like the hype man for Web3. I'm like, it's going to bring back a thriving middle class. You're the much more like calm, very measured, which is good.
And to be honest, my brothers would be laughing right now so hard if they're watching this. I'm always considered the hype man, right? But I've realized that we're hitting a point, like you can only hype things up. If people aren't ready to be hyped about it, then you need to go back to the education process, right? Once they're educated on it, then it's like, okay, now let me show you how many amazing things that it can do, and and really start honing in on those and giving real world examples and whatever. But yeah, because we are so early, because we are literally pitching dial up, it's like, okay, we need to go back and really hit the simple benefits of permissionless blockchains.
Yeah, that's one thing that we're thinking a lot about internally with Project Kaizen is, I know where we want to be in 5 years, 7 years, but if I'm selling against the 5-year, 7-year vision, people are going to be punching me in the throat for the next, 5 years with the, when this, when that. Whereas if you find the fun in the phase one, now you've got something. Now, my fascination with Web3 as it relates to the gaming space is that it's, I think, going to introduce the possibilities for an entirely new gameplay style. And you're on the right track, by my estimation, with the collectible side of the Pokemon part of this, which, like you said, you were willing to hang off the bridge. I really hope that that's not a true scenario, but you're, somebody is willing to go do this crazy thing. Somebody else can buy it, but the person that hung off the bridge is now the one to actually be able to take advantage of that. But that the fact that you now have a wallet that has more than money in it, and that wallet tells me at a technological level what your affinities are, what you're interested in, and now I can begin to craft. It's not like I'm going to build on the fly a one-of-one experience based on what you have, but I can figure out, let's say, several different scenarios based on, even if it's just my own in-game assets, right? Like, okay, if they buy this type of Illuvium, they're into this. Or if their Illuvatar is this kind, then they're, giving them an experience that uses that as the main character. It doesn't have to be like crazy, but you can now tailor things to them. And Ready Player One, the movie, I think is way off the mark. But Ready Player One, the book, in terms of allowing for people to learn Unreal Engine, like you were building an Unreal Engine 4. And now when we announced that we were building an Unreal Engine 4, our community started building stuff like, is it going to be something like this? Is it going to be something like this? And so I was like, God damn, like literally 72 hours after we announced, you've got people going, oh, it could be something like this.
Yeah.
And I just thought, man, the ability to build alongside, to create things within the experience, it's new.
100%. Yeah. And look, I mean, the Decentraland sandbox, it's very tailored to what it's a decentralized outlook, and the experience absolutely will get there. I just think there's a lot of work involved in order for us to, particularly, so I'll caveat that with one thing. So we're building inside of our own ecosystem, universe, whatever you want to call it. I definitely don't call it a metaverse, but we're able to control the assets inside our own world, right? So if we have Illuvium and then you have Illuvium 0, they're interoperable assets right now. But what we want to get it to is if we've got, I don't know, a car racing game, the person that your driver might be an alluvial or your alluvitar or whatever it is, you know, the assets are interoperable inside because we control all of those assets. But if we're trying to bring in your assets into our world, it's possible, but it takes a lot of collaboration, you know, to be able to balance out you bringing your assets into our game and it not breaking that said balance in our game. And so, yeah, I mean, it lays the groundwork and the foundation for this. I just think that it's going to be a slow burn building out those virtual worlds.
Yeah, I agree. The way that I'm approaching it is what I call the metaverse archipelago. Like you, I have a real aversion to the word metaverse because it is so far off. But when we were looking at, okay, what technology are we going to get behind in terms of what we're going to build in, we went with Unreal because follow the developers, right? And the number of people that can already develop on Unreal is crazy. And the learning curve, because of the tool that they've built, is much smaller than a lot of other things. And I'm thinking, because I'm not taking the same approach as you and diving straight into a balanced game with weapons and all that, we're doing the more, again, what I call experiential games. So like you said, we could, once there are standards for the experiential part, so whether that's, hey, you can be the driver, you can't bring your weapons, you can't bring your cars, but you can bring the inert person who need only move arms. Those things will allow you to have this persistent identity. And if somebody comes up with the HTTPS protocol, the TCP/IP of video games, so that, okay, you're built in Unreal, so I know how to render you, and there's certain data that we're going to standardize. So, hey, you take that asset, you can bring it into the sort of non-balanced part of our world. Then it becomes very interesting because I can build an identity that people can see across certain number of different games. Obviously, it would only be in Unreal in this case, only in places that don't require balancing. But I think that there's something really interesting there, especially when you marry it to your earlier comment about crypto encouraging the cross-pollinization, not necessarily partnerships, but the collaborations that people do. It's very interesting. And we're already seeing that begin on Twitter, where you've got people who, take G Money, right? Most people don't even know what he looks like. It's like he is his avatar. And so that, I think, is going to become more and more of a thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The only issue that I see there is, let's say that you build this standard, that's probably not going to be our standard. And so in order to do that, we're going to need to create a second asset. And then that's where it kind of becomes an issue, because our real alluvial inside our game is not what is able to be uploaded into your game, right? And integrated into your game. We would have to make it a different NFT that has your standards, which is 100% possible. And we could have that collaboration and go, okay, let's talk about getting some alluvials into your world because people want to run around. I would do that. That sounds amazing. But then bringing that asset back into Illuvium isn't necessarily going to be possible unless prior to us even creating our asset, we say, okay, we're going to adhere to that standard. And that's why I'm saying potentially, a couple of years' time down the track, maybe everyone is building to that same standard, and we can get to a stage where assets are interoperable. But it's just, there's so much collaboration that's needed that I know it's exciting and I want us to get there, trust me. But I just want to be, I guess I'm a little bit realistic in that sense.
No, I think that's smart. All right, Shay, I think you said that we have some more questions before we run out of time here.
We do. The first one that is going to be from Discord, and then I'm going to bring up Taps Trade.
Nice.
The question is, when land sale?
We knew it was going to be asked.
We knew it would be a when question too.
I'm hoping this month. If it's not this month, it'll be very, very early next month, but we're gunning for late this month.
How do you manage your community's expectations? Because look, as somebody who's developing our own stuff, I know that you can't give firm dates. It's like ranges. How do you manage the psychology of your community?
So we did something a little bit, I don't know if it was good or bad. I'm undecided. But at the very start, we said, hey, we're going to go out and build a AAA game in 12 months. Now, that's lunacy, right? In hindsight, that's ridiculous. Now, what I think it actually did is, because I believed it, and because we as co-founders, as in Grant, Aaron, and I, we feel like the team started believing it. And so everyone, people ask, how did you build something so detailed and with so much substance in such a short amount of time, when the other examples in the space are nowhere near that? And the reality, I think a component of that was because we were racing towards this unrealistic date, but it started actually becoming a reality. We started getting up to the stage where we had 100 characters done, fully modeled, ready to go, and we're like, maybe we actually can do this. Now, it's turned out we haven't been able to, but I think there's an argument to be made about saying, especially internally to your team, we have to hit this date because the community has already been told about this date. And if we don't, this is crypto, you've got this, we don't want to start looking like, oh, we said we'd hit this date, now we're not. Then you go into the realm of, are they rugging us, all this stuff. So this was being communicated to the team. And so everyone's kind of in this state where you're just furiously building and working and working and working. And so that's how we've got that's how I believe we've a big factor into how we've gotten here. The flip side of that is the community. Then how do you manage them? Because you've told them as well that you're going to do it. Now, there's smarter people out there in the community than me that were literally like, no chance in hell, but we'll let them run with it and let's see where they can get to. And, so I've said to the community, I know you're disappointed, But would you be more disappointed if we said what normal gaming studios do and say, hey, this is the roadmap for Illuvium. We're going to be finished in 2025. You know, no one would have, it would have been like, what? Will come back to us in 2 years kind of thing. So I don't know. That's kind of how we've been managing it. We're just, you know, working through it, but it really has meant that, yes, we haven't hit that date, but we've still done it faster than I think we ever would have.
No doubt. No doubt. And you guys have so much to show for it. I have to imagine that engenders a lot of confidence. Shay, you said you have someone to bring up?
Yes, Taps Trades. You can unmute and ask your question.
Taps.
Awesome. Thanks, Shay. And good to speak with you both again, Kieran and Tom.
What is up?
What's going
What's
on?
happening?
Yeah, so I'm stoked to be on here. I saw the spaces and really happy just as a legendary key holder and a member of the Shiny Shards Illuvium group. So shout out to them. But I do have another one question for you, Kieran. As always.
Yeah.
So on the Fall Barone interview, you had mentioned that there's private beta coming this week. Is that still, I guess, the ETA? And then will there be like an open demo shortly after? Just trying to get a understanding when we can all start playing.
Yeah, the guy. Well, look, I don't know if you have you been confirmed for the private beta?
If you'd like to right now, you could.
Sure. Let's we'll get Tom in and we'll add you in as well, Taps. But yeah, it's again, I really hate giving dates, but it's when I say this week, I mean in the next 7 days. So I think I said that yesterday, or maybe the day before that. So it would likely be ready over the weekend, and we'll start looking to distribute it either Monday or Tuesday, if all things go well.
Awesome, thank you.
No worries.
You have nothing but empathy for me, man. I get it. Building something amazing takes time, and so there's no question that crypto is just brutally unforgiving about missing dates. But at the same time, you know, you want to do something good, and you don't get a lot of mistakes. Like once you launch, man, like that's it. So I think it is, as long as you're showing people, which you clearly are, as long as you're showing people the assets that are coming out, what you're creating, I like to think that the Web3 community is going to understand. And if nothing else, they're just going to see time after time after time that it takes what it takes. It's almost impossible going in to know exactly when you're going to be done. The best thing you can do is give people a range. And then as you get close, man, there's always that 11th hour thing where you're like, what the fuck? Like something breaks and then it's like, God damn it. And that's going to, you know, take whatever time to fix, and you can't just go out and be like, oh, well, sorry guys, we didn't want to miss the date. So yeah, I get it. Shay, are there any other questions?
We had Darko asked to come on stage. I have requested him, and while I'm waiting for that, there was a question in the community asking if what Kieran and your thoughts, Tom, are on kids playing Illuvium and crypto games, since they're kind of tied to financials.
I will let Kieran go first, unless he needs time to think.
It's another tough one. So this question gets asked a lot because we have, obviously, you know, crypto. It's we're talking financials here and whatever, but we've also introduced the ability to wager crypto in the Leviathan arena, and so it's going to be open. It's, you know, a decentralized application. It's accessible by all. I will say, though, that in certain countries and on certain platforms, particularly, you know, iOS and Android, there may be some things that we need to do to either get around them or switch off some features like the wagering and whatever. So at this point, it's accessible to anyone, but there may be some restrictions that are put in place.
Makes sense. So my quick answer is that since teenagers are such a big part of what we're aiming to do, that we will be very thoughtful about how we plan out call it the financial risk of like how much somebody could get in over their heads. My thing is that if you're selling something that people would pay for in a traditional game, but you're letting them own it, you're better off. So as we'll take a lot of cues from what people are used to, because we're not, as of right now, we're not even contemplating a DeFi element to what we're doing. Until regulation comes down, I fear too big of a hammer. We are, more of playing the aesthetics game, so skins and things like that. So I don't have tremendous amount of fear, but yeah, that's how we're approaching it. And then were we able to get a hold of Darko?
Darko is up on stage if you want to unmute and hop on up.
Hi, do you hear me?
Yes.
Sure do.
Oh, this is really amazing. You don't know how it makes me happy. Like, it would be already amazing to talk one of you, but both of you at the same time. This is like amazing. This is my highlight of Web3.
Very kind, man.
Thank you, man.
And I want to make a statement to you guys. Like, first of all, I love both projects, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. And the other thing is, I have to thank you both because you've realized it and maybe you haven't realized it. But when crypto came out 10 years ago, there was a promise for decentralization and self-sovereignty and, responsibility and all this stuff for yourself, your own life. But it somehow, people didn't get it or people don't want it. But now with projects that you have, what you're doing is actually you're bringing humanity, like even if it's small parts, on Web3, and they start learning. And this is like, you are the use case for Web3. And I love you both. I love both projects. And that's all I want to say.
That's very kind, Darko.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Well, on those kind words, we are going to have to wrap up. KIERAN, thank you, man. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for building a project. Thank you for being a calm, reasonable voice in the space, for standing behind everything that you guys are doing. It's really incredible, man. I super appreciate you coming on. It was wonderful to meet you.
Yeah, you too, Tom. Thank you so much for everything that you've done. I've done, as you know, a lot of AMAs, and by far the most amount of interest has been on this one. I've been getting messages since I posted it up the other day. So obviously well done to everything that you've built in this space as well. And thank you so much for having me.
Man, truly my pleasure. And thank you for the kind words. To everybody that came and joined us today, thank you guys so much. This is Building in Web3. It is a weekly show that we do to talk to the luminaries in the space that are making the future come true. As I say, the best way to predict the future is to invent it. And here we are talking to the people that are inventing the future. Thank you guys for being a part of Web3. I do believe that it is going to change the world. I don't want to be Pollyanna about it, but I actually do think that it's a big deal. So thank you guys all for being a part of it. If you're not already in both of our Discords, what are you waiting for? Head over to Illuvium, head over to Impact Theory, and thank you guys all for joining us. And until next time, my friends, be legendary. Take care, everybody. Peace.
All right, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this type of content and want to see me share more of this stuff for you guys on YouTube, just please make sure you hit the like, subscribe, hit the notification button. It really helps the channel out a lot. And have a great day, guys. Peace out.